Hey, good afternoon. Happy 4 o'clock. What's going on? I'm so glad you're here. I'd be even gladder if you turned your cameras on. Or else I'm going to take Ronnie out for lunch and she and I are just going to have to sit and have our own private combo. There we go. There's at least a couple more of you. Spectacular. All right, so we still have a couple people popping into the waiting room. So do me a favor. While we're waiting for them to enter, if your name is not on your little Zoom room screen, please go ahead and change whatever you have there to your name. Most of you, I think, are going to be okay. We do have Samsung SM in the room, and I'd be happy to call you Samsung. However, I'm pretty certain that's not your name. So go ahead and change that to your name so that we can be on a first name basis. That would be spectacular. For those of you who do not know me, let me introduce myself. My name is Rick Scott. I am the principal broker, operating partner, and director of education for the Keller Williams Realty offices of Western Fairfield County. That's Ridgefield, Danbury, Newtown, Stamford, Westport, those locations. I'm really excited to be here with you today. How many of you have been through this course before, just by a quick show of hands? Stuart, Julie, yes. Marcel, I think, yes. Okay. Oh, look, the little blue Zoom hands. That's always spectacular. All right. So I'm curious, for those of you who have been through this before, why are you back? Good, Stuart.
I say refresher. It's always good.
Excellent. I love the refresher aspect of things. Why else? Go ahead, Julie.
I'm sure I missed something.
Yeah, it's a lot, right?
Yes.
It's
all good though.
It's a lot. We will definitely throw everything and the kitchen sink at you over the course of the next 4 weeks. For those of you who have been through the course before in our Zoom world, know that because of the length of time that we usually spend, we typically spend 3 hours, 3 days a week. If you'll note, the schedule for this course is 2 hours, 3 days a week. So we have cut out an hour a day. That doesn't mean the content goes away, right? It just means that I have to deliver it faster. And for those of you who have been through the course before, you know that there's a list of things that I am pretty good at. Short and sweet is not on that list. So condensing all this material and cutting out an hour and still getting it to you in that amount of time continues to be a struggle. So we'll work through it together. The last class, we added 2 additional classes just to make sure we got all the content. But I intend not to have to do that this time. So keep me on task. We'll get through everything we need to get through. And so what does that mean, getting through everything we need to get through? So let me give you a quick outline of what this looks like. We will spend today into tomorrow kind of setting some foundational stuff for you, making sure that you are in the right head, have the right mindset to grow a business. Remember, this is not, you get your license, you hang your license with a broker, you haven't gotten a new job, right? What you've done is open a new business. And so I want to be certain that you're all thinking like business owners, because business owners think differently than people who show up for a job every day, right? And so as business owners, we need to be certain that you have that playbook to move you forward to grow when, for all intents and purposes, you have you to be accountable to, right? That's different. How many of you come from something else? Come from a corporate job, or have owned another business, or things like that? Anybody come to? Yeah. So most of you did something before real estate, right? Most people don't graduate college at 22 and say, "Hey, I'm going to dive into real estate." Do we have anybody on the call today who is that? This is their first
commercial real estate.
Ah, excellent. Okay. Well, there you go. So Julie, you are the anomaly, right? But for the most part, real estate is usually a second or a third career, or I'm kind of done with what I did for a living, and now I'm going to get into real estate to continue to earn money, but not necessarily the grind perhaps of that Monday through Friday. Boy, if that's you, you are in for a surprise, because real estate's more of a grind than what you used to do. But we'll get there. We'll get to that. All right. So oftentimes, let's see, how many just do we have? We have 16 of us on the call. All right. So let me go through how we're going to work this. Again, we'll set the foundation today into tomorrow. We'll then move swiftly into source of business and kind of talk through all the different places business comes from and what strategies you can use to make sure that you are obtaining business from as many sources as are attractive to you. We'll then shift into our seller unit and talk through what that looks like to be a listing agent. We'll hand you script packages to walk you through what that listing consultation looks like. We'll discuss additional tools that you have at your disposal on the listing side. And then we'll go through the anatomy of a listing transaction so that you have a bit of a checklist as a listing agent to know what to do when that first offer comes in on your first listing. And then we'll pivot into our buyer unit and sort of the same path through the buyer unit. We'll hand you a script package. We'll hand you everything you need to conduct and learn and conduct a valid buyer consultation, and then kind of talk you through what that looks like in terms of working with a buyer, some strategies to help you streamline that, and then end with the anatomy of a buyer transaction. So again, you have that same checklist that we'll give you on the seller side, so that once you actually have somebody under agreement, you have a 70-point checklist to get you from that moment to 30 days after the closing. And that's kind of our time together. I encourage at all times as many questions as you have. You can use the chat for that. You can use your little blue Zoom hand for that. And if you can't figure out how to make either of those two things work, just unmute and I will see that you've unmuted. Do wait for me to call on you if you would, so that we're not interrupting anybody else talking, but just unmute and I will cycle around to you to ask that question. All right, so with that, you should have received via email your materials that look something like this. It is Power Session 1. That was sent to you probably an hour or so ago. So for those of you who didn't recognize that it was there, if you want to go ahead and print that, we're going to spend another 5 or 6 minutes outside of the materials, but know that we are moving to the materials. Did anybody not receive the materials? Is anybody, I should ask that now. Is anybody not in our system yet? Is anybody not fully licensed and not yet in our system?
I didn't receive the materials yet.
Okay, but you are fully licensed and in our system?
I'm in the system.
Okay, so that is, which market center are you in, Ridgefield or Stanford?
Stanford.
Okay, do me a favor. Skylar is still at the front desk. Would you do me a favor and just give him a quick ring and have him forward that to you?
Okay, I don't have the number.
It's 327-6700.
Okay.
That's probably the fastest way to get those to you. And so if anybody else didn't receive the materials, give the front desk a call and
thank you.
Sure thing, we can get those to you immediately. So Ignite is it's actually my favorite course to teach, and the reason for that is I think people make the mistake of thinking it's a new agent course. It's not. It's really a launch course. And what that means is whether you're brand new to the industry or just looking to give yourself a shot in the arm or relaunching an existing business, the conversations that we will have throughout our time together are as valid as for any of you who are doing any of those things. So let's get some clarity around how this course was built, right? So this course was built based on the concepts found in this book. That's the red book, right? That's the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. Mine actually looks a little different probably than yours because mine is older. However, just by a quick show of hands, how many people have and or have read the Millionaire Real Estate Agent? Okay, so that's not enough of you. So here, let's start with homework piece number one, right? If you do not have that book, obtain that book. You can go to kellerinc.com and order one. You can go to Amazon and order one. You can probably, if you're in your market center tomorrow, the market center probably has one that you can pick up. Just see your MCAs, see either Deb Linke or Lisa Katz, and they may be able to find one for you. So get yourself a copy of that book and read through it. Why do I say that? Why is that homework piece number one?
Sounds like it's KW 101, Millionaire Real Estate.
Yeah, well, what's interesting is that it's real estate, right? 101, right? This is a pretty brand blind book. I mean, and what's cool about the concepts that we will teach you from the MREA is kind of how Gary came about them. It's not Gary's opinion about best practices, right? He interviewed 200 of the top real estate agents in the country. Not 200 of the top KW agents in the country, 200 of the top agents, brand blind across the board, all across the country, and then distilled all that data and said, okay, so clearly the top people are doing these things consistently to create the income that they create. So really what this book ends up being is a blueprint for success as a real estate professional. If you are a business owner that owns a real estate business, which that describes each and every one of you, then this book is the blueprint for success. You wouldn't build a house without having blueprints, right? You wouldn't just wing it. You wouldn't just say, you know what, it looks like maybe a 2x4 here, maybe a 2x6 up here. I think if I put these kinds of nails in, it'll hold up the whole structure, right? You wouldn't do that. You wouldn't just guess. And so I would encourage you not to guess when it comes to your real estate career, right? Because what that says then is that you're guessing about your income. And I don't know about you, but there are very few things that I take really seriously in life. My income happens to be one of them, right? So recognize that the idea of building this business as it relates to your goals and your successes and your income, all you got to do is kind of follow this model. So homework piece number one, get and read this book, right? Some of you will have that done like in an instant. Some of you it will take a little bit longer, right? So let's set a target. Can we have this book read in 2 weeks? Is that unreasonable? Tell me if it is. I mean, I'm typically a pretty slow reader. I think I could get through it in 2 weeks because it's my kind of book. It's got big, bold print and it's got a whole lot of graphics in it. So it actually moves pretty quickly. And if you've never read one of Gary's books, he kind of writes like he talks, and so it's really a conversational read. So 2 weeks from tonight, Tuesday the whatever, let's make sure that we have that book under our belt, and it'll be perfect timing because we will have been through pretty much half of our content. Take a little break and kind of dive into what you got from reading the MREA. Everyone want to venture a guess as to your job description? What is your job description as a real estate professional? For those of you who know the answer, please don't spoil it for everyone else. All my repeat offenders. No one wants to be brave? All right, so here's what I can tell you. This is going to be a long 4 weeks. If every time I ask a question, you all just stare at your screen or look down. A really long 4 weeks. Come on, someone be brave. There we go.
Okay. What is our job description? Did you say?
Yeah.
I would say to sell homes and to help buyers find homes.
Love that.
And could go on more. You want more, or just is that enough?
Yeah, no, that's
Okay.
plenty. What else, Stuart?
Cold AC and assist the client, just help the customer.
Yeah, so cold AC, right? So that's the list of fiduciary responsibilities. Some of you maybe learned it as oh man, I can't remember how I learned it. It wasn't cold AC. Oh, it was old car. But now I'm going back 21 and a half years. So if you took it recently, it's cold AC. In the old days, it used to be old car, right? And helping the client. What else? I can guarantee I can outweight you. Come on, we need at least one more. Okay, Ronnie, save them.
Oh, but I don't know if it's in the job description, but make money.
Yeah, well, so that's a great thing to mention, right? The purpose of business is to earn a profit, right?
Right.
And so certainly we need to mention that. But let me give you the job description that so many of you were reluctant to guess at. You should write this down because it doesn't appear in any of your materials, but it is the foundation for how I'm going to teach you to build a real estate business. And so the job description I want you to get really, really in tune with is this: to interpret current conditions such that the client can make the best business decision possible. So your job description is to interpret current conditions such that the client can make the best business decision possible. If you will take that to heart and really internalize what I just said, I can guarantee you will have a far faster path to success with a whole lot less heartache than your colleagues who still to this day believe that the job description is to find a buyer or to list houses or to negotiate the best deal possible, right? All of those things are a part of what we do, but that's not the foundation of what we do. The foundation of what we do is to interpret what's going on for the people who hire us so that they can make great decisions. What's the thing that's most different about that job description than maybe you thought? Because I can tell you there's one thing that really stands out typically to most people. I'll give you a hint. It's about who's making the decisions. So I guess the hint was actually the answer, wasn't it?
The client.
Yeah, right. So the client, in our job description, the client makes the decisions every single time. And I can't tell you how frustrated some of your colleagues are when they call me and they say, I need to know what advice to give my client. And my answer every single time they say that to me is, oh goodness, why on earth would you do that? They say, well, what are you talking about? Why on earth would I do what? Well, why on earth would you give advice to somebody? The job description is to interpret current conditions, right? Lay out the options. That's another way of saying, here's what's going on and here are your options, so that they can make a choice and move forward, right? You're not buying the house, they're buying the house. It's not your asset that's on the market, it's their asset that's on the market. They just need to know kind of the choices they have. And then they get to make decisions. They get to make decisions about what they buy, when they buy it, how much they pay for it. And on the list side, they get to figure out how much they want to put the property on the market for, what strategies to use if multiple offers start to come to the table. Now, of course, we're there supporting all of that and giving them all of their options. I'm going to teach you a list side conversation that does not have you go to the seller and say, I believe your home is worth $695. Let's put it on the market. You're going to deliver data and they're going to make some decisions about what the best number is for them and their goals. Right? We're going to teach you a consultative version of real estate, which always has you asking questions instead of telling people what you know. And I don't know about the rest of you, but when I was new or newer to this whole industry, it gave me some anxiety about not knowing all the answers. I wish I would have had somebody tell me 21 years ago that you don't have to know all the answers. What you have to know are all the questions. And you just have to know where to find answers. Right? That's the difference between a presentational style of real estate and a consultative style of real estate. Consultants ask questions and help the client self-discover answers that are awesome for them. It's just another way of reading the job description I gave you, right? So if there's anybody who's kind of sitting there thinking, all right, like I have been licensed for about 19 minutes. How am I going to go and deliver? I hope that relaxes you a little bit, right? Because you don't have to know all the answers. You have to know all the questions. And we're going to teach you all the right questions to ask. Does that make sense? Yeah, some of you aren't buying it. I can see it in your eyeballs, but okay. We'll just decide, okay, for now and move it forward. Here's my question. Everybody else who's on who doesn't have their camera on are like, where are you? Are you in the garden? Are you in the shower? Are you, what is happening? Why can't we see you?
I'm charging my computer.
Well, there you go, Danielle. It's lovely to see your face. See that? Oh, look at that. I guilted a bunch of people. That's awesome. So here's another, see, my daughter's gymnastics. I knew we had some people who were probably like someplace that they needed to not have their camera on, but it's all good. And we still have Samsung. So Samsung, tell me, anybody still haven't showered? Okay. Well, and if you're driving, don't be typing. I don't want to cause any accidents, right? Samsung, did you put your name in the chat? I should open my chat. Hold on a second. Excellent. Thank you, Jackie. I appreciate that. Okay, so Marie asks, do we have to print out this whole sucker because it's 70 pages long? The answer is you absolutely don't, right? I just wanted you to have it, and for people who do like to actually print it and write on it, I certainly offer that to you. Many of you will just look at it on the screen and take notes someplace else. I'm going to show you towards the end of our time together today exactly where to go on my KW to grab these materials yourself so that we don't have to send them to you each time. Because you have access to all of it. I just wanted to make sure that you had them for the start of our time together. So no, you do not have to print everything out because it's a whole lot of printer ink and a bunch of paper. Okay, so let's do this. Let's start with a quick 90-second video. And that video will be my friend and yours, Mr. Gary Keller, just kind of giving you a little bit of an intro. And so we will pivot to some videos every once in a while. The videos are usually 1 minute to 4 minutes long. Do me a favor. During those videos, don't check out, right? Kind of check back in during the videos, pay attention, listen to what's going on, take some notes, because at the end of each video, I'm going to ask you for what you heard and some ahas and some thoughts about what it is you just heard. So do kind of plug into that so that we can have a discussion. Trust me, I don't play these videos to kill time, because as I mentioned earlier, we don't have that kind of time to kill, right? I play only certain ones that actually make sense to the course material and to get us thinking and talking about the things that are important for us to take that next step. So without further ado, here is my friend Gary Keller to intro you to Ignite.
Hi, I'm Gary Keller. This course will allow you to get off to a fast start you can build on. Because if you repeated the principles every 90 days for a year, believe me, you have an awesome first year. And just as important, you would have built the foundation and momentum for your entire career. It is practical, realistic, and easy to apply. It's about the fundamentals that determine your level of success in the business of real estate. From our research with top agents, we have found that they too started their careers with these fundamentals, and they continue to do them along with their teams to this very day. And it's not hard. It just requires a little focused effort, a few hours every day. Now, there is really just one way to achieve the goal. It's lead generation. Other skills are important, yet without leads to work with, your skills won't mean a thing. Dealing with business never takes precedence over what? Finding business. Never. Research shows that top producing agents make lead generation their #1 priority and the one thing they make sure they always get done. You can do this. And when you do, you will get the leads, the relationships, the experiences, the career, and the income that you want and deserve. Go get them, and good luck.
All righty. So we got Gary, we got that funky little trumpet music. What could be finer on a Tuesday afternoon? So what'd you hear? What'd you hear from Gary? What stood out? Good, Stuart.
Lead generation.
Yeah, right. So Gary talked about lead generation kind of being the foundation for building a business in real estate. Let's be clear. Lead generation is really the foundation for building any kind of business, right? If you're a dentist and you have no clients, what kind of business do you have? Right, not a successful one. You can do dental work on your children, and that's you're kind of done, right? So dentists need to lead generate, right? The retail store down the street, you need to lead generate. So lead generation is kind of that foundational concept. I will tell you that not only do I find lead generation to be a foundational concept, and we'll get to this a smidge later, but I want you to focus on lead conversion as well, right? So just write that down, right? Lead generation, lead conversion, because the two go hand in hand. And I think that what happens a lot of the time is that we spend so much time on lead generation, we forget to follow it up with lead conversion. I have a lot of coaching clients over the course of the years that came to me and said, I just don't know why I'm not making any money. And I said, okay, well, let's take a look at your business. What does your database look like? And I said, well, I have these big buckets of names, right? I have all these leads that I generated from open houses, and I have my sphere, and I have my this, and I have my that. I'm like, okay, awesome. What are you doing to actually convert them into appointments? Answer, nothing, right? So it's not just a matter of gathering leads, because the generation is only step one, right? The good news is that we're going to walk you through strategies to move you through lead generation, but then also strategies to help you convert those leads into actual appointments. Make sense? Excellent. All right, so Matthew, are you at the beach? Is that what we're seeing here?
Yes, correct.
Uh-huh. All right. Well, I choose to love you anyway.
Thank you. I'm too white. I needed to get a little tan for you.
Got it. I don't know what that says about me. My goodness. I've been stuck in this room for 19 months, I think. I know some of you are brand new to our company, but if you've been around for a while, Marcel, have I been in this room for 19 months? Yes, I have been in this room for 19 months or something absurd like that. All right, so whenever we get bored, we'll just kind of take a little pause and have Matthew kind of spin around and let us look at the water and people playing volleyball and wish that we were all there, and then we'll come back. So do be ready for a quick pivot. All right, what else from Gary? He will be disappointed if that's all you got from his little 90 seconds. One thing I've learned about being in business with Gary Keller for 17 and a half years is you really don't want to disappoint the man. What else did you hear? Go ahead, Robbie.
I think it was nice to kind of, it's a little daunting starting and like figuring out how you're going to start your own business, but he kind of like makes it seem like, all right, don't worry. It's like a few steps. Like you do this, you're guaranteed to, maybe he's like oversimplifying it, but it seems not, it's kind of nice to start out here, not really knowing how you're going to start and him be like, we got it. Just a couple things to do. Love that.
I love that. Thank you for putting that out there. Right. And to follow that up, Robbie's 100% right. Right. It is simple. That doesn't mean it's easy, right? But it is simple. The process we're going to show you, I mean, for those of you who have read the MREA, this is not rocket science, right? It's a relatively simple model. That doesn't mean it's easy to implement, right? Those are two different things. What else? Let's go with one more. Go ahead, Frank.
Well, the lead generation is the first step into building the relationship. So the relationship, I think, is the important word.
Yeah, right. So to broaden the concept of lead generation is what you're really doing is you're looking to find people to get into relationship with, right? The conversion happens over time, some a short period of time, some a long period of time. But conversion is all about building a relationship and then converting that relationship into an appointment for real estate services, right? But without the relationship, without building that relationship, leads just stay as names, right? Did anybody notice one of the things that Gary said? He said, finding business never comes at the expense of, did you get the other part of that? Finding new business never comes at the expense of handling current business. And I want to make sure you heard him say that, because when I say it a little later on, you'll say, oh my goodness, Rick just said that we shouldn't give good customer service. Danielle's being mauled by her dog.
Sorry.
Did he just take your earring out?
Yeah, she just ripped it out.
Well, there you go. This is actually kind of fun. We have dogs and beaches and lots of fun things going on. If the rest of you would turn your cameras on, God knows what we would see. We'd at least see gymnasts, right? I'm wondering if Simone Biles is where you are, or is she kind of someplace else? I think she's getting ready for the Olympics, so maybe not where you are. But I want you to be clear about, as we move forward, the simple conversation of finding new business is your first order of business every day, right? And what happens as we learn how to run this real estate business as a business, we get distracted by all of the business that starts to come our way, right? We start to get, oh, well, now I have a buyer. So now I have to put everything else on hold and go and sell that person a house. Oh, I have a new listing. Okay, I got to focus on that, getting my listing on the market, right? And we put everything else on hold, right? Some of you are nodding your head because you know exactly what I'm talking about because you've experienced it, right? It doesn't make you a bad real estate professional. It doesn't make you a bad business owner. It makes you human. It's right. That's the human path forward. Is I'm gonna put this on pause and focus over here. And one of the things I'm going to continue to remind you about is when we talk about schedule management later today or early tomorrow, your schedule has to reflect the things that are important to your business's growth. And the two things that are most important, as we're going to uncover shortly, when we go through the top 7 things you need to be doing every day, are lead generation and lead conversion, right? Those are your top 2. And so when you put things, it gets hard, right? It gets hard. You suddenly you have a client calling, right? We'll talk about strategies to help you through the anxiety of, oh my goodness, this client is calling me. It's 10:30. I'm supposed to be generating new business, right? I'm in the client acquisition portion of my day. Maybe I'll stop that and see what that client needs. Guys, I can tell you that is probably the worst thing you can do for your business. Because the start and stop, first of all, now you've wasted at least 20 minutes. By the time you stop what you're doing, take that phone call, handle whatever's going back, figure out where you're supposed to be, where you were going, and then get back to what you were doing. You've wasted at least 20 minutes, maybe 30, right? And here's what's cool. If you've decided to lead generate from 9 to 11 every day and your client calls at 10:30, they will still have the same question at 11:15 when you get back to them. Or here's the beauty strategically of time blocking, or they won't. Because what I have found is that oftentimes when you allow people the time to figure things out on their own, they oftentimes do figure things out on their own. Right? That doesn't mean you're being less service, right? And all of my clients always understood that I was unavailable from 9 to 11 every morning. Because for buyers, I was finding listings that weren't on the market to show you. And for my seller clients, I was locating buyers for your listing. And so nobody wanted to interrupt me during that period of time because I made that time about them. Right? My phone, when you got my voicemail, said very specifically, if you've reached me between 9 and 11, please leave a message and I will call you back after 11:30. Right? Today, you could just pivot that to a text. So here's another thing I want you to write down. It doesn't show up in your materials. Some of you will not agree with this. That's okay. There is no such thing as a real estate emergency. There is no such thing as a real estate emergency. I know some agents who believe they're in business to put out fires, right? That if there weren't emergencies, how can I provide service? How can I be of use to my clients? Guys, that is not what we do. Please note, to interpret current conditions such that the client can make the best business decision possible, right? That's what we do. And so I want you to just kind of underline the fact that there's no such thing as a real estate emergency. If you think of one, let me know. We can talk about it. Inevitably, somebody says, oh, well, you know what, if the house was on fire, that would be an emergency. Well, okay, yes, that would be an emergency, but I hope you're not calling me if your house is on fire, right? Why are you calling your real estate agent if your house is on fire? That's a 911 call, right? So that's not a real estate emergency. That's a home ownership emergency, right? It may affect the real estate, but it's not a real estate emergency. Am I making sense? You get my point? All righty. So let's do this. In your materials, let's turn to page number 9. I want to start with a quick discussion around what we call the 6 personal perspectives. And the 6 personal perspectives ultimately are they're the answer to the question, what is it that differentiates those who achieve at the highest level from those who don't seem to accomplish all that much? Do you agree that there are people who achieve at high levels and there are people who achieve at lower levels? Do you agree that exists? Right? Okay, good. So at least we're all like living in reality, right? There are some people who achieve at higher levels and there are some people who don't. These 6 personal perspectives ultimately define why that is. So let's go through them. Personal perspective number 1, I'm on page number 10, if you're following along. What is personal perspective number 1? Somebody unmute and read that. Anyone? Anyone? Bueller?
Commit to self-mastery?
Commit to self-mastery, that's the one. So let's just talk about committing to self-mastery for a moment. Let's break it apart. Let's start at the end. What is mastery?
You're an expert in your field.
Say it again.
You're an expert in your field.
Yeah, right. So moving to a place of becoming or being that expert in your field, right? It's that 10,000 hours rule, right? After 10,000 hours or so, you pretty much have mastery of whatever, right? If you're learning to play the oboe, if you're becoming a swimmer. I've never used swimming before, Matthew. That was in honor of your beach day. Just so you know.
I appreciate that.
Because if you think I'm letting the whole beach thing go, we've got an hour and 15 minutes left of beach references and coming back to it. So,
I mean, I really made a layup for you. It's great.
It is. Ladies and gentlemen, Matthew Tallett, my assistant.
Yes.
So the idea of if mastery is that level of expertise, what do you think self-mastery is? Okay, Danielle. Oh, were you on?
If you're the that you have full control, like of internal and external environments.
Yeah, I love that definition.
Everything.
That's awesome. That is awesome, right? So full control. So if mastery is an expertise, right? Self-mastery is having an expertise of you, right? Basically, the way I define it is you've got control. You've got control over what's between your ears, right? It's you getting control of you. It's you having an understanding about how to master your own head. Because I don't know about the rest of you, but the more I learn how to tame what's between my ears, everything else kind of gets easier, right? If you can learn how to control you and learn how to guide yourself. So that self-mastery idea is, how do I become the very best version of me possible? Because when I become the best version of me, then I get to show up for my business in such a way that maybe I couldn't if I wasn't the best version of me. And remember, we're always talking about 2 separate ways of showing up as a business owner, right? Because most of you are the CEO of your business. So you're going to wear that CEO hat and make decisions from a CEO perspective. But for most of you on this call, you're also the business's sole employee. So you wear that sole employee hat, and the decisions that each of those people have to make in order to run the business well are different decisions, right? And we'll kind of talk through that and point that out as we go. And then let me ask this question: what does the word commit mean? If you're going to commit to something, Okay, Ronnie.
Continue.
Oh, it's you agree, almost like a contract. You commit, you agree, you're committed to it. Meaning you're going to do everything to ensure the outcome.
There you go. Right. My version of that is do whatever it takes. Right. Commit means to do whatever it takes. So really
Fully
the first
vested.
personal perspective, say it again, Frank.
Fully vested?
Yeah, like you are fully vested. You're all in, right? We had poker night last night, so I'll use a poker metaphor, right? You are all in. By the way, I did not win poker night last night. I was number 5 eliminated out of 8 at my table. Made it to the second half, but it was fine because I had to go home for dinner anyway. So it was just as well that I had crappy cards. Or at least I played them crappily. I shouldn't blame the cards, right? So commit to self-mastery. Do whatever it takes to be the best version of you possible so that that best version of you can show up as the business owner and the real estate professional that you choose to be. Frankly, if you really start to take these 6 personal perspectives as seriously as I do, they start to creep over into your life as well, right? Like, what if you decided to become the best version of yourself possible so you could show up that way for your spouse, for your kids, for your parents, for your dog, for your, for everybody in your world, not just for yourself and for your business. Cool things happen. All right, personal perspective number 2. Somebody unmute and read me that one. What are we committing to this time?
Commit to 80-20 principle.
There you go. We're committing to the 80-20 rule, right? How many of you have heard of the 80-20 rule before? Right? Basically, it's a concept that says 80% of your results will come from 20% of your activities. 80% of your results will come from 20% of your activities. So would it be helpful to know what your 20% as a real estate professional actually looks like? Stuart says yes, so we're going to give it to you. If the rest of you aren't interested, you have Stuart to blame because he wanted to know about it. Frankly, though, I think I would want to know about it too, because if you have 912 different activities that you could choose from in real estate each day, and we can narrow it down to the 7 that actually make you money, I think I'd want to know what those 7 things were, right? And so I need a volunteer who's in front of a computer who can type for me, because I do want someone to list in the chat numbers 1 through 7 as we go through them. Do I have a volunteer to do that? Anyone? Oh, great, Julie. Thank you so much. So Julie's going to be our scribe. So the 20%, when I say, are you in your 20, right? I use that phrase all the time when I'm coaching real estate agents, right? Talk to me about how, if that activity or what you're focused on, is that in your 20 or is it out of your 20, right? And so in your 20 ultimately just means, am I doing the things that actually create the income that I'm looking to create? Do I have a handle on what those dollar productive activities are? So number 1, you guessed it. We've already had this conversation, lead generation, right? So number 1, lead generation. Number 2, lead conversion. Again, not big surprises, right? So numbers 1 and 2, lead generation, lead conversion. Number 3, appointments. So number 3 is appointments. By the way, this is not in your materials anyplace. There's a little bonus. So if you want to jot these down, or we're recording this, it'll be on YouTube tomorrow. So you can always go back and re-listen. So lead generation, lead conversion, appointments. Are you starting to see, like, you generate the lead, you then cook the lead a little bit, you incubate the lead, you convert the lead to an appointment, and then you work with that appointment to ultimately get to number 4, which are contracts and negotiation. Number 4, contracts and negotiation. Number 5, the natural end process of what we do. Number 5 is closings. Right? And that doesn't really mean attending closings, just to be clear. What it means is creating them, right? Contracts and negotiations ultimately can be one of 2 things. Contracts could be you signing a new listing or you signing a new buyer, right? It doesn't necessarily mean you've sold anything yet, because we have contracts when clients hire us. We sometimes negotiate with clients to have them hire us. So contracts and negotiations can be the upfront hiring process, or you actually selling a property, right? And doing the negotiations to get that job done as well, either on the buy side or on the list side. All of that then leads us to you creating closings. Number 6. Number 6, you're doing right now. And no, I don't mean sunbathing. Number 6 is education, scripts, and practice. Education, scripts, and practice. And so here's what that looks like, right? We don't know what we don't know. So being learning-based, which is another one of our 6 personal perspectives, tells us that education is kind of key. We need to continue to push forward and learn the things we don't know. Scripts are the tools of the trade when you are a sales professional, right? And so learning and understanding and utilizing scripts at a high level will only shortcut your ability to achieve at higher levels. We're going to talk about scripts before we part tonight. And then practice, right? Practice, and then practice some more. Remember, if you're a surgeon, do you practice before you cut open a live body? Yeah, you sure do. And you don't even practice on people who are living. You practice on dead people, right? Just in case. So recognize that practice is as important to you as it is to any other profession. Right? If you play on an NFL football team, you practice all week for 58 minutes on the field, right, on a Sunday. If you've become the best of the best and you're an actor and you land a Broadway show, what do you know about how Broadway rehearses? They rehearse all week, even after they've opened. They have rehearsals for themselves, for the understudies, to keep everything fresh, to implement new stuff, right? So practice is a part of being a professional. And what fascinates me is how in our industry, people think I learn how to sell a house and I learn how to list a house, and suddenly I just know everything there is to know and I don't have to spend any time practicing it. People who achieve what they want to achieve faster and create a level of confidence for themselves faster, spend time practicing. That means practicing your buyer consult with each other. That means practicing your listing consultation with each other, or with your spouse or your kids or whomever will listen, right? But what's cool is if you do it with each other, you can actually challenge each other a little bit better than if you do it with a non-licensee, right? Because you at least know some of the things that come up that you could throw somebody's way to make sure that they're practiced enough to be able to move through the consultation, handle objections, and get to a close. Practice could mean you're going to spend 20 minutes one-on-one on Zoom or on the phone with somebody from your little Brady Bunch classroom here, or somebody else you might know in the market center, or some other agent across the country that you know, You might spend 20 minutes every morning before you actually go and start lead generating, just to kind of practice your scripts, get your head in the right space to be more effective when you're actually on the telephone. Right? Some of you are a little panicked all of a sudden because I said the words on the telephone. Yes, being in real estate does require you to be on the telephone, right? So can we be clear about something? Because this was when I was new in real estate, I started my career with Century 21. Do not hold that against me. However, I did start my career with Century 21. And they sent me to this training. And this woman who trained us started the whole session off by saying, okay, so I want you to understand two things. You are not going to make money for at least a year or two. So just understand that. And the second thing she said was, you are not salespeople. You are marketing consultants. And that's how you should always behave. Guys, both of those things are about as wrong as they get. So I hope you didn't write them down. If you wrote them down, cross that out as fast as you wrote it down or faster. My intent for you on this in this course is not for you to learn for 4 weeks and then go and implement something. My intent for you with our time together is for you to learn and implement at the exact same time. And so what that means is between today and tomorrow, I'm going to send you out of here with some homework that starts with you contacting people and starting to have real estate conversations. Because I know you know how to do it. Even if you just make it up. I can tell this is definitely an advanced class. You know how to have those conversations. You don't have to know everything there is to know about real estate in order to start creating opportunities for yourself, right? And the last thing I want you to do is to put obtaining or seeking out those opportunities on hold while you learn the things you think you need to learn in order to actually perform, right? Because that's all just here. That's all your head. That's all your little drunk monkey that sits on your shoulder and says, you need to know more. You need to be more ready. You need to go to get more information before you can go and actually sell a house. I'm here to tell you that is not true. It's not true. Because the reality is, if one of you came tomorrow and said, you know what, I have this appointment and I have no one to help me, we'll find you someone to help you. Let's keep that opportunity, right? Ronnie, you had an opportunity a week or two ago, right? And Amy's kind of helping you through that process. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. I had a listing. I had met someone through an open house and had a listing appointment with them. Yeah. I mean, I think, exactly. I mean, you can spend a lot of time trying to learn commands and a lot of time trying to learn the MLS. And there is a lot to learn depending on how you come into the business. But for me at least, I had a sales background and, dealing really, I'd say, I don't know what percentage, but a high percentage is really people buy from people they like. And if you can create a relationship with someone, they really don't even ask you they don't even necessarily ask you how long you've been doing this, how long have you been in real estate. They really kind of forget about that. And I think they ask that more, again, if you're not making a connection. So I would say for me, the most important thing is making a connection with people. Like you said, asking, even if I don't have all the answers, asking the questions and being prepared. I kind of called them beforehand, kind of get an idea of their concerns so that I had some answers for maybe some things that were concerns.
Love it. Love it. And you're 100% right? You're 100% right. And so you just sometimes, right? This may come back to bite me as your broker. However, as your real estate coach, I want to impart upon you, sometimes you have to be willing to kind of fake it till you make it. right? Or else you start to miss opportunities. I mean, frankly, if I were in your shoes, instead of missing opportunities, I would dive in with both feet. I guess you don't actually dive with your feet, do you? Because you kind of dive forwards. Jump in with both feet. That's what I meant to say. Jump in with both feet. And worst case scenario, if you feel completely and utterly unprepared to service the business, just refer it to a more experienced colleague, right? You're in an organization of 573 real estate agents. There's plenty of people who have the experience, even if you don't, that even in a scenario where tonight you get somebody on the phone and they say, you know what, I actually do want to list my house tomorrow. All right, well, so maybe you say, look, I'm literally, now I'm 21 minutes into my real estate career and I just don't have the tools. Okay, well, that's okay, right? There are people on this call who do. Maybe you throw that to Christine, or you throw it to Marcel, right? You throw it to somebody with some more experience. You throw it to Julie. You ask Nikki for some help because they've been through it, right? And some of them haven't been through it a lot, but they've at least been through it once or twice, right? And are more than willing to help you so that you don't lose the opportunity. That's kind of all I'm saying. I'm not saying be reckless, right? Please don't hear it that way. But what I am saying is you're in an organization that's more than willing to help. You have to raise your hand and say, I need some assistance here. Can you pair me with somebody? Because we come from the perspective of there are going to be, when I was new in the business, I did not want help. I probably should have asked for it more than I did, right? But my personality, my behavioral style is like, you know what? No, thanks. I'll figure it out. Leave me alone. I'll go and handle it. I'm going to build this myself. Christine doesn't get to laugh at me though, because I see her smiling, because she knows how absolutely out of character that is for me. Right? So there are just people like that. You have to learn to love us anyway. And if that's you, we don't want to step on your toes. And yet if you need some assistance because you have an opportunity and you're a little freaked out, well, just text me and say, okay, I need help. I need a listing agent in this town that I can do this together with. I'd rather you refer the business and watch and learn, or decide to work with somebody who you'll split it 50-50 with, than lose the opportunity altogether and lose the opportunity to learn while you're actually doing, right? All right, have we beat the horse good and dead on practice? That was all practice, my goodness. Is it Thursday yet? No, okay, good. Phew. Number 7, money management. Number 7 is money management. Thank you, Julie. Here's what I can tell you about number 7. If you don't get really good at numbers 1 through 6, you don't have to worry about number 7. Because there's not a whole lot of money to manage, right? So it is number 7 for a reason. However, we put it on there to say that as you start to go through this process of kind of finding new business, incubating the business, converting the business, going on your appointments, converting your appointments to contracts, getting through to a closing, and learning and practicing through all of that to get better and better, to build those muscles, money management does become important, right? Which is why it goes on the list. At some point, money management becomes something that you will leverage, right? The actual management of it, not that you take your eyes off of it, but the idea of the actual management piece of it, you start to leverage. And yet it's really important to have that on that list. Any questions about that list that makes up your 20%?
How is there 80% left? It seems like a lot of things.
Yeah, welcome to real estate, man. Holy cow. Right. But Robbie brings up a good point. What is the 80%? If that's all the 20%, What on earth makes up the 80%? Anybody have a thought? Just throw them out there. Just put them in the chat or unmute, throw them out. What makes up the 80%?
Some of those emergencies?
Yeah, absolutely. So all the kind of the stuff, right? The stuff of, meeting the appraiser, bringing the brochures to your new listing, calling up your sign. What else?
Getting the paperwork into the MCA.
Oh yes, getting all that paperwork done, right? Getting my website looking just right. What else?
What you were talking about earlier, looking at new homes on the market, that kind of homework to then talk to your clients about?
Yeah, so market preparation can be part of that 80%. Certainly the marketing and the advertising that you might be focused on is part of the 80%. The administrative portion of all of that, the operational side of the business, that's all kind of becomes the 80%. Now, as a solo agent, for most of you, that's all your job too, sorry to say. Just remember that the Market Center does offer some programs to leverage some of that, right, through our concierge services. We offer programs that will put your listing on the MLS for you, right? You just have to get us the documentation and submit that through a special portal. We'll show you that a little later. We have concierge services that say, once you sell a house, give us all the data and the documents. We'll get it up into Command for you. We'll submit the commission request. We'll take care of all that stuff for you. So we have some version of allowing some of the 80% to be offloaded, but a lot of that is going to be on you. The reason we give you the 20% versus the 80% is because we want to be certain that you know the question to ask yourself throughout the course of your day. Am I focused right now on dollar productive activities, or am I stuck in my 80%? Because what happens is, Robbie, is that the 80% becomes what you get up and start focusing on, right? And especially with newer licensees, I find that they get so focused on making sure that their website looks right. Right, guys, I can tell you that, is that important? Sure, it's not unimportant, but it certainly isn't as important as going out and finding relationships and conversing about real estate with actual human beings, right? That's where your focus needs to be. And so so I want you to have the difference between the two and the list of things that make up your 20, so that when you get up in the morning, you can make sure that your day is built from the perspective of handling your 20% first and then getting to the 80%. Because there is a reality that you will not get through 100% of all the stuff, right? There's just not enough time in the day. And what happens is, when you get up and you start focusing on the 80%, what you run out of time for is the important stuff. And if you'll build your day knowing what the 20% looks like and focus on getting that stuff done first, what you run out of time for is the less important stuff. And that's okay. Your 80% can and will be a little chaotic. Be okay with that. Right? Have some structure around your 20. Does that answer that, Robbie? Okay. All righty. Holy Christmas, we're only on number 3? My God. All right, so personal perspective number 3, moving from E to P. Moving from E to P. Anybody know what the E and the P stand for? So that E, go ahead, Aida. So that E stands for entrepreneurial. The P stands for purposeful. And so what moving from E to P actually talks about is you wake up every single morning knowing what you know. And you're ready to run your real estate business knowing what you already know, doing what comes naturally. Right? And doing what comes naturally will take you so far. Depending on your natural talents, some of you it will take a little further than others of you, depending on what you're good at. However, each of you at some point will start hitting your head on a ceiling of achievement, meaning that in order to create a more purposeful result, you need to start focusing on more purposeful activities. And purposeful activities that create purposeful results aren't always what comes naturally to you. They're not always what are in your comfort zone, right? And so starting to make clear decisions about reaching outside of that comfort zone, reaching outside of what comes naturally to you, and start learning and doing things in a more purposeful fashion, at some point will be necessary for you to continue to grow and achieve at higher levels. I had a coach for a really long time. She was my longest term coach before she retired. And we used to have this conversation, and she would ask me how something was going, and I would be frustrated that it wasn't moving faster, right? I like things to move fast and furious in my world. I don't like to get stuck. And she would say to me, as I was expressing all these frustrations about achieving something new, she would say, well, Rick, you do understand, you're only experiencing E to P, right? You're just banging your head on the ceiling of achievement. You know better than anybody that after you bang your head a couple of times, you figure out how to be more purposeful to move you from where you are to a more purposeful activity, which creates a more purposeful result, hence growth, right? People on the outside, when you do that, what they see is growth, either personal growth or business growth, financial growth, whatever. People see growth. What you know on the inside is that you're adapting and adjusting you and your activities from being inside your bubble of comfort to doing something that's slightly uncomfortable. Does that help? Does that make sense in terms of describing moving from E to P? Most of you are in that E right now, right? You don't know what you don't know. You're here to kind of figure all that out. And what you'll start to, here's where I can tell you, you'll start to understand the idea of transitioning from E to P. You'll start to get a little uncomfortable with some of the things we start talking about. Like, oh, he wants me to do that? Oh, really? Did he really say that? Oh, yuck. That's what being a real estate agent means? Oh, man. Right? So as soon as you start to have some of those feelings, it'll either create terror or excitement, depending on who you are, right? Both are good to help move you into a more purposeful style. Donna.
And sometimes you can get trapped in the E because you're actually having success. You're actually closing some transaction. You're actually making some money. And so the push into that uncomfortness and to realize that you could be doing even more if you push through. Sometimes people get trapped just in that E.
Yeah. You know what Gary calls that? He calls it winning so slowly we're actually losing. Right? It's another version of winning so slowly we're actually losing. So yeah, you have to be careful. You have to be careful, right? Donna's talking about a level of complacency, right? Of not really stepping outside and looking at, okay, what do I really want? Am I cool where I am? Or what do I really want? Is this good enough? Right? Have you ever read the Jim Collins, Good to Great? Right? If you've never read Good to Great, that's another reading assignment for you, but MREA is first. You should all know, since I mentioned a coach of mine, let me introduce you to my reading coach, Donna Gilbert. And I'm not kidding about that. Donna ultimately is, I'm not sure she ever really signed up for it, but she got the job because we were having a conversation one day about me being better at reading more books. And Donna's probably up there with Gary Keller in terms of how many books she reads every single week, right? And so Donna gave me some strategies that I've put in place, and now I report back to her weekly unless I'm not doing my job, which then I skipped a week because I was.
But then you can say,
I owned up to it.
You did. And that's all that matters. Just keep going.
Indeed. Right. So the idea of Jim Collins in Good to Great is he says that good is the enemy of great. Right? E to P is that version of that. Donna's point about getting stuck sometimes in the E is a really valid one. Right? Actually, I think I did. Oh, let me show you this. I wore this shirt for you today because this is a graphic representation. Let me make sure you can see it. Let me lean in. A graphic representation of E to P. You see how we're breaking through the ceiling of achievement and going from E to P? There you go. I promise that is the last time I will place my chest on the camera. You can feel free, bring the kids back into the room. I'm sorry for the distraction. Number 4. Let's take a quick peek at number 4, right? Number 4 says make being learning-based the foundation of your action plan, right? We've talked about this already. Right? You don't know what you don't know. So let's be certain that we're always coming from a position of how do I learn what I don't know, right? My version of this is green and growing, not ripe and rotten, right? I have worked with real estate agents in the past who professed to want to be coached to higher levels of achievement, who I can tell you, I found to be uncoachable because every question that was asked, the answer was, well, I know that and I do that and it doesn't work. Okay. What does it take to challenge that thought? Does it make sense that maybe there's a different way to do it that creates a different result? Nope. Oh, okay. Right. So at some point, right, you all close your eyes a second. Picture the know-it-all in your life. Right? You all pictured somebody. That's not who you want to be. Right? And if you pictured you, we're going to have to kind of tweak a little bit. Think about it this way. I use this example a lot. Choosing not to be learning based is kind of like me sitting here saying, if you were better students, I'd be a better instructor. Right? If you were different, I'd be better. And so as real estate professionals, when you're gathering clients, being learning based always means being willing to look in the mirror and saying, okay, so this all was a real struggle. It's easy to just say, if I had better buyers, this would have been less hard. Except you having better buyers lets you off the hook. It has nothing to do with you learning something new. It has nothing to do with you making sure that you're building that muscle of self-mastery, right? So my version of that is, how do you always look yourself in the mirror first? When something goes sideways, when something goes wrong, I look to seek what of my DNA is on that? And how can I do that differently next time? So that even though this was a struggle, I'm learning something, I'm pulling something away from it. Right? Another great book I want you to put on your reading list. Some of you think you're in trouble, right? We've been at this for an hour and 20 minutes. I've given you 4 books already. But another book I want you to put on your reading list is Failing Forward by John Maxwell, right? Failing Forward. Depending on your natural behavioral style, that can be a hard book for some of you. I know it was a hard book for me. I don't like the concept of failing. Let me restate that. I never liked the concept of failing. It felt like the word failure it seems to mean to a lot of people. And I'll tell you, after reading that book and starting to live differently, I actually am excited about failure. Like, failure is one of those things that if you're pushing into something new and it fails, well, I've just really quickly learned a way it doesn't work. So now all I have to do is stand back up and figure out a way it does work. I'd rather fail far faster and far faster than have something go on for months and months and months, right? And then all of a sudden realize that I'm winning so slowly I'm actually losing, right? You don't want to cycle back to that. The very fact that you have chosen Keller Williams Realty as the home of your license says to me that there's something inside of you that is already learning based, right? Our entire organization is kind of built around sharing education, learning, and looking in the mirror and asking that question about how do I become the best version of myself. Number 5, remove your limiting beliefs. Remove your limiting beliefs. Everybody's got stuff in their head that holds them back. This personal perspective challenges us to step away from ourselves and really kind of interrogate our beliefs, interrogate what we believe to be true. The question that I've armed my children with, which I will impart to you, to help them interrogate themselves on limiting beliefs, is when you think something, ask yourself the question, am I 110% sure that that is true? And how do I prove it? Right? You need to be able to kind of challenge your own thoughts. My daughter, who is now 19 and going into her second year of college, went through a phase in junior high where everything was about what she couldn't do. Right? I can't do this, I can't do that. And so we developed this conversation that said, I understand that is your first thought about calculus or algebra, whatever she was doing in school, whatever was coming up. She was a basketball player, that might be your first thought about, shooting a 3 from outside of the whatever. Are you 110% sure that that's true, that you can't do it? And inevitably, because she was a teenager and I was her father, she said, well, of course I'm sure. And I said, so I asked the follow-up question, okay, well, how can you prove it? That's where she got stuck, right? Because the reality was she hadn't done a lot of the things that she said she couldn't do. And so once I asked her to prove it, she couldn't come up with proof. So then we got to have a conversation that said, okay, well, what if you just went and did it one time? Make sense? A great book to help decide if it's true, Loving What Is, by Byron Katie. Love it. I haven't read that one. I think my coach just gave me a homework assignment. What do you all think? I think so. And number 6, in our personal perspective journey for the evening, be accountable, right? Be accountable. Recognize if it's to be, it's up to me, right? There's only one person who gets to take 100% responsibility for all of your successes as well as all of your challenges, and that is you, right? You get to take 100% responsibility for everything that's awesome and everything that stinks in your world. It's just called being accountable. The opposite of accountability is being a victim, right? Please note, I oftentimes have an argument that there are different versions and levels of accountability. I will tell you that what my experience says is that that is not true. That accountability is like a coin. On one side is accountable, and on the other side is victim. You're one or the other. There's not like levels of, well, I'm sort of accountable on Tuesdays if it's not snowing, you're either accountable or you're a victim. And so you just have to make some decisions, right? You have to make decisions as a business owner how you're going to show up. Because how you choose to show up will be how the employee you, right? When you show up as your CEO you, your employee you will follow. So if you choose to show up as a victim, oh my goodness, I can't do that. It didn't work. I had an open house. No one came. Therefore, open houses don't work. Real estate is so expensive. I'm not making enough money. I have all these bills to pay for the MLS. Yep. Wah, 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 wah. Right? That's what you signed up for. That just is what it is. That's the nature of the beast. Real estate does have a bunch of upfront costs. Be accountable to the choice that you made. Be accountable to your own choice for success. Right? Because it's just a choice. You can be nervous. There could be some fear that shows up, right? All that just means you're human. It doesn't mean that you still choose to succeed or fail. And here's what I've learned in 51 and a little years of life. It takes the exact same amount of time, effort, energy, and mental space to fail as it does to succeed. So if it takes all the same amounts of all that stuff, why don't you just choose to succeed? And so much of that comes down to whether you choose to be accountable for you, your activities, your actions, and your results versus blaming. I mean, I've seen it over and over and over again. The market's not good. The market's too good. Literally, right? The market's moving slowly, therefore I can't make money. The market's moving so quickly now, I can't make money. Okay, well, which is it? I don't get it, right? Maybe you just can't make money because you're making a choice that says you're not doing the right activities that actually turn into results. That has nothing to do with the market, right? I've been doing this long enough that I've watched people join our organization and a year later they haven't made any money and they come to us and say, you know what, thank you so much for all the training, but I think I'm going to go to Coldwell Banker now because I couldn't make money at Keller Williams. Okay. Good luck with that. Right? Because here's what happens, and I see it all the time. That person makes a move, they leave our organization, they go to Coldwell Banker. Look, if you couldn't learn and make money here, you're not going to make money someplace else. Right? Because who do you bring along with you when you make that change? You bring you. That's exactly right. And you chose not to be accountable to the activities that we told you would bring results when you were here, when we were preaching it and offering things to support you underneath it. You're certainly not going to hear that ever again in another organization. And so what happens is people make that change, and I call it the step before the step, right? That change is just a step, because within 12 months, that person then makes one more step and they step out of the business. because it's not that you couldn't make money someplace, whether you were here or Coldwell Banker or where, you chose not to make money because you chose not to focus on the activities that create the results in our industry. And that has everything to do with your choice about being accountable to the results that you want to see. Am I making sense? Does it sound a little harsh? I don't mean for it to be. I mean to just tell you the truth.
No.
Because what I'm saying to you is 100% the truth. And I'd rather you just hear it now. I mean, I hope you come back tomorrow, but I'd rather you hear it now. And if you decide overnight, like, you know what? I'm glad he told me the truth because this does not sound like this is for me. Like, I prefer you just make that decision and not torture yourself for 6 months, right? Because if it's not for you, it will be a torture, right? I'm actually kinder than I sound. There's a reason that I just choose to tell you how it is. All righty. What do we got? 28 minutes. Where are we going to go next? Any questions on the 6 personal perspectives about getting our head straight, about being the best version of ourselves, about moving in a direction and knowing the realities of the activities that we need to focus on to create the results that we are looking to create? Yes, Robbie.
Is there any like real life example for you that you could give? Like, because I feel like that's something that everyone can relate to, but it's something where like maybe because you said before you wanted to, it was hard for you to ask for help, or you were, you spoke about some of the flaws that you had, and then how did you take that, like become accountable and fix that? Is there any example that you could give?
Yeah.
Or something you're working on now? I don't know.
Yep. No. So I'm sure there is. I have to give that a smidge of thought. And so as I'm thinking that through, I didn't say it in the beginning. One of the things that I really do believe makes me like the perfect candidate to sit with you for 4 weeks and walk you through this material is that I have made pretty much every mistake there is to make in building a real estate career. Right, I've done it all 77 different ways. I've searched for all the shortcuts. I've looked for the silver bullet. It does not exist, right? And so some of the example I could give, Robbie, to answer your question is a more generic one, and it's kind of like it's like trial and error. I've done things. I've been a presentational style real estate professional versus a consultative style real estate professional. And I've seen the difference that those two styles bring in terms of results. I've focused on getting ready to get ready, to get ready, to get ready, right? And I've lived in that world of I am naturally, behaviorally more of a perfectionist than I ever care to admit, right? And that's a trap, right? And so recognizing that when you come from that position of it's all got to be perfect, you slow your ability to actually create results. And so for me, it was getting to a point of, look, when I came into real estate, I needed to make money. It wasn't like a hobby. I wasn't hanging out trying to kill some time. I needed to make money. And when I got into real estate, I was 28, almost 29 years old. I had my first child at home, and I needed to make money, right? And so as I started to go through that, and remember, if I said to you before, I went to this training, and then the first thing the woman said to us was, "Don't expect to make money for the first year or two." It's like I got in the car and I wanted to like blow my brains out. I thought I just took all this like education and passed the test, and now I'm a real estate agent, and she's telling me I'm not going to make any money for 2 years. Like, what is that about? I wish they would have told me that in the beginning. I would have done something different. Understand that's a load of crap. you can choose to make money, right? What is today's date? It's June the 15th. Every single person on this call could have their first rental closing by July 15th if you chose to. So you could start making money in the next 30 days. You could if you set your mind to it, you can have your first real life closing within the next 60 days. Because all that means is you need to do in the next 2 to 3 weeks, you need to get real hot and heavy on lead generation and conversion. Find someone who needs to transact real estate so that you can get that done, get that either on the market or get that buyer a house and get a closing set up. That is doable for each of you within 30 days for a rental, 60 days, maybe 75 for an actual closing. And the real trigger point for me, Robbie, was the speed at which my results were coming. I didn't like the speed when in the beginning, I didn't like the speed at which my results were coming. I was making money, but I wanted to make more and faster. I have a natural level of impatience that helped that along, but my circumstances also helped it along, right? I don't know about the rest of you, but my bank still likes to get paid their mortgage every single month. I mean, like the nerve of them, every single month. They don't like when you miss a month. They don't say it's okay, right? I know it sounds unreasonable to me too, but they do want to get paid every single month. So it was recognizing that we talked about E to P before. I had to do a lot of work personally to recognize that I didn't have all the answers. Because when I first showed up in this industry, I decided that I had all the answers. And I looked around and said, okay, well, you know, the way you people are doing this is all lovely. I'm doing it a different way to be better. And what I learned over time was the intent behind that was really a powerful tool, but the way it actually showed up for me was a distraction, because I turned off the ability to ask questions and listen and learn from other people who were doing things. And so for me, it was that confrontation with myself. It's why I say a lot in the first 2 sessions that we have together. You have to be willing to look in the mirror and really recognize who is there, right? All the good and all the stuff that has an opportunity to improve, and start to kind of weed through that and say, you know what, this will likely do me real well in this world that I've chosen to enter. This might hang me up a little bit. And as soon as you can step back and start to see it, you can start to change it. Not seeing it and just blindly deciding that everything that you have going on is all that. That's where I see people get into trouble. So I think my real answer, it took me a long way to get there, but I think my real answer to your question is you have to be willing to see your strengths and see your areas for improvement differently and more clearly than you maybe ever have been asked to do before. And then just start taking steps towards building those strengths. Keep building those muscles, use those strengths where you have opportunities for improvement or some challenges to overcome. Seek out the questions that will help you find the right answers to move you over or through those little molehills, and start becoming the business owner, right? So much of this is about owning business, right? I come from the perspective of being a business owner, because I learned all these things as a business owner, and then once I learned them as a business owner, I started to take them into other areas of my life. But I learned them. Most of them I learned from Gary and his cohorts. as a business owner, and then I kind of moved it around. Does that help?
Yeah, no, that was really helpful. It's like having a level of self-awareness that you haven't maybe had before, or it's like, because I think we all have, like, we all know who we really are, but maybe some of us have, and I can speak for myself, you have like maybe some things that you are like, I don't know, not delusional isn't the right word, but you haven't been able to look at yourself in that way or see how your actions affect your business specifically. Yeah. And it seems like what you were just talking about was like being very self-aware and like honest. And then at the same time, like not being hard on yourself. It's like this balancing act that you're kind of that's what I got from what you were saying. And it's helpful because at the end of the day, it's like looking yourself in the mirror, recognizing your mistakes, but not letting them like take you down. You actually have to spin it and like have it be a positive learning experience.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. What's that ideal? You either succeed or you learn, right? There is no real version of, oh, woe is me, you know. It is a level of self-awareness. I love that phrase. What do you have for us, Donna?
So, thinking that you know it all, thinking you know the best way to do it, that actually is a limiting belief.
Yeah. Because
it cuts you off from the possibility of finding a different, new, and better way.
So true. So true. It's interesting because, oh my goodness, probably 2 or 3 years ago, Donna said something to me that kind of just sticks in my brain. I've said this to her before, that it was a powerful thing she said. And she said, I do my best to get up every single day and learn something new every single day, right? And that concept is part of self-awareness, right? Because it starts with recognizing that there is something new for you to learn every single day, right? And so you have to recognize that first and then seek it out, which is why I say you have to know what questions to ask yourself, because then once you ask yourself the question, your brain goes and kind of finds the answer. And in case any of you are thinking that this is like a light switch moment where you wake up one morning and say, oh my goodness, look, like I'm enlightened now, I'm self-aware. That's not the way it works, right? It's a constant journey of moving yourself, which is what makes it fun, right? Because it's the opportunity to continue to find cool people and immerse yourself in different experiences and be nervous about stuff and be a little bit frightened about other stuff and be excited about other things, right? Remember, excitement and nerves, excitement and fear, it's all the same emotion. Your brain is just interpreting the chemicals slightly differently. But chemically, excitement and fear are actually the same, right? Which is why we start with personal perspective number 1, which is commit to self-mastery. Your brain can do a number on you for good or for not good, right? Your head can either point you in a direction that allows you to succeed fast and furious, even though you might be new to something, or it can turn you around and start to send you in that spiral of, I don't know enough, I'm not good enough, right? And the cool thing about that self-discovery process is that it is when you allow yourself to go through it, you recognize that it's not just you. It's everybody. Like it's just a human thing, right? It doesn't make you good. It doesn't make you bad. It doesn't make you. It just makes your version of that experience kind of come to life, because your version will be unique, and yet it's not exclusive, because everybody feels those kinds of things. We're all just human trying to figure it all out, right? Boy, we got deep today, didn't we? Whew. All right. Kind of feels like a therapy session, doesn't it? I'm going to start charging by the hour. So for tomorrow, if you could all come on your couches instead of your chairs. All right. So since we're deep, let's stay there for just 5 more minutes and turn to page 19, because 19 to 21 or 19 to 23, sorry, 19 to 22 in power session number 1 talks about your big why. Right? And from a business owner's perspective, you need to spend some time with yourself. And I'm going to give this to you as homework between now and tomorrow. We'll talk a little bit about it before we finish tomorrow. Spend a little time with 19 to 20, what did I say? 22. It talks about the concept of kind of your purpose. Like why? Like why did you choose real estate? Why did you choose to be a business owner? Why did you choose to real estate as a means of an income? If you want some more reading on that, I think it's page 77. Oh, look at that. It is. It's page 77. So page 77, maybe a page or two beforehand and a page or two afterwards in the MREA will give you some more reading on the big why. We're not going to spend a lot of time together on it, except to say this. Understanding what drives you to achieve is crazy important in terms of allowing you to be accountable to the activities that you say you're going to do to achieve. And what that means is there are going to be days where you don't feel like doing the stuff that we talk about. There are going to be days where you wake up and think, you know what? I don't have to punch a clock. I'm just going back to bed. I don't feel like being up and being on the phone. I don't feel like getting up and doing the things that make up my 20%. And because I'm self-employed and I don't answer to anyone but me, I think I won't do it. That big why, that purpose has to be big enough to overcome that human feeling of I don't wanna, right? I have one of my goals in my life is to live to at least 100. I used to say live to 100, but I got nervous that I was sending a message to the universe that on my 100th birthday, I would just drop dead no matter what. So I now say live to at least 100, right? My kids will be 73 and 69 when I turn 100. And so they think that my goal is to be around long enough to irritate them into their own old age, right? But really, it's to make sure that I maximize, right? You're given one life. I mean, you get one shot at this. So I want to just make sure that I maximize it. And so at least 100 seems appropriate for now, right? I mean, I'd love to live to at least 150, except I don't want to be like a brain in a box on a countertop, right? So I want to have a life. So at least 100. And so one of the things that I personally do to contribute towards that goal of living to at least 100 is I choose to eat right and I choose to exercise, right? And my version of exercise is I run. Guys, trust me, when it's cold in February on a Tuesday morning and my alarm clock goes off at 5 o'clock in the morning so I can get up and run my 5 miles, the last thing I want to do is get up in the cold and run my 5 miles. Truly the last thing. Like, I think I would rather go and have the dentist stick those needles in your gums when you get work done some mornings. And I do this whole head game about, oh, you know, I'm cold enough that I probably shouldn't run because I might hurt myself. I'm not stretched out enough. I mean, you play all these mental gymnastics to convince yourself that you have a right not to have to do it, right? You go through this whole thing. I don't really have to run. I'm not gonna drop if I don't run. Except then I go back to, okay, what's the purpose of this? Well, the big why for me is to live to at least 100, to be able to affect good for myself, my family, and everybody around me. And so if I give up on that goal and I don't do my running today, am I cheating myself out of a week? Am I cheating myself out of a month? Am I cheating myself out of a year? I just am twisted enough to convince myself that those things matter towards my main big goal. And I just get up and do it. But it's something that pulls me forward because it's bigger than just a 5-mile run on a cold February morning. It has to do with something bigger. It has to do with part of my life's goals and my life's purpose, right? And so tying your activities, tying what you do into your purpose doesn't often come easy for people. So if you spend time in the next 24 hours and you can't come up with anything, it's fine. Like, you'll get there. Frankly, I'm not even sure I know what my big why is. I think I have a whole bunch of medium whys that I'm working towards. And I'm not sure I've really discovered the big why yet, the main purpose of why Rick Scott's on the planet. I don't know if I know it yet, but I have a bunch of small ones and a bunch of medium ones that pull me forward enough that when I don't wanna, I still get up and do, right? Some of that from a work perspective is all of you, right? I have all of you to thank for holding me accountable to showing up for work every day such that I show up for you. That's a promise that I make to you, is to show up and show up well rehearsed and knowledgeable enough to help you move forward and grow your business. So take some time and start thinking through that big why. We'll talk about it again tomorrow. Some of you it'll be fast. Some of you'll struggle. Just remember, it doesn't like, you're not looking for that Mother Teresa moment. It doesn't have to be about saving the whales or saving the planet, or it doesn't have to be charitable. It doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be enormous. It just has to be important enough to you, including if it feels selfish to you. Your big why can be about you, right? Certainly mine was until it morphed into me and my family. And now it's turned more into legacy, right? About what I get to leave my kids and my grandkids, right? So it morphs over time, but it started when I first started on that version of my life. It was all about me having the things that I was looking to have, right? And that pulled me forward until it started to morph. Am I making sense? Okay. So spend some time on that so that we can have that conversation tomorrow. Any questions on it? No? Okay. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to kind of stop here. I want to show you where to go on MyKW to get your materials. We're going to start tomorrow with page 25, which is your economic model. We're going to start to get down and dirty about you equating your activities to money, right? So I want you to start thinking tonight about what that looks like for you. Do you have some sort of monetary goal in mind, either from a want or a desire, either from a want or a need, right? It can be how much you desire to earn, how much you need to earn, right? Everyone's circumstances will be different and drive that conversation slightly differently. But I want you to have an idea of what that looks like for you. Maybe you come up with two. Maybe you come up with a floor. A lot of things I do in my life now is there's not one target. I kind of have two numbers. I have a floor where it can never be less than X, right? I'm not just talking about finances. I'm talking about lots of different things, right? There's a floor, and then there's the target up here. Because then you have something that you can stand on to read. The way I look at that is that when I get here, it's at least this, and now I get to stand on that little stool and reach for my real big target. So for me, it's always kind of two numbers. You figure out how that works for you, right? And we'll walk you through how to convert money into activities and activities into back into money, so that you're always understanding that your choices about the activities that you choose to spend time on have a direct correlation to your income, right? It's crazy important to recognize that as a business owner, if you choose to do something or choose not to do something, that choice goes back and has an effect on your income. So we'll work on that tomorrow, as well as talk through what those activities are. So we'll start diving into those activities. You'll get some homework on those activities tomorrow. And then we'll talk through scripts and some schedule management, and then cruise forward from there. So with that, any questions about anything that we went through today, while I get the screen up to show you where to go to find your
Is this Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday?
So yes, it is designed as Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 4 to 6. I will tell you that I will actually be at a wedding on Thursday. So we will not have class. I don't think we'll have class on Thursday. I will confirm that via email tomorrow, but we will absolutely meet tomorrow. Oh, I'll just confirm it tomorrow. We can do that too. I'll see you tomorrow. So I'll confirm it tomorrow, whether or not we will have class on Thursday. If in fact I can have somebody come in and work us, keep moving us through the material in my absence, I will do that.
Oh, we don't get to see the wedding?
Yeah, no, my name's not Matthew Tallett. I don't
exactly. Oh,
I don't think I'll be on a beach on Thursday either. I think I'm going. The wedding is in a vineyard in Aquabog on Long Island, the North Shore of Long Island. So I'll be picking. Well, there you go. I'll be picking grapes instead of kicking sand. So let me give you a quick tour. It takes just 2 minutes of where to go to find your materials. So I will share my screen with you. Where are we? There we go. So when you log into MyKW, you will click up here on education. So MyKW is mykw.kw.com, right? And that's how you access your intranet, your corporate intranet, mykw.kw.com. And so that page looks like this, except it won't have my 20-year-old picture there. It will have your 20-year-old picture there. That's probably only 10 years old, to be fair. Education up top here as a tab. You'll click on that and you'll come to KW Connect. Typically, Ignite is one of the icons you'll see right on the home page. However, if it's not, if you just look right up here, you have the little magnifying glass in the upper right-hand corner. You can always type in Ignite here as well. So you can either search for Ignite or just click on the icon, and that will bring you here to this Ignite page. You can see it says Ignite right there. And you'll have student resources, instructor resources. You want to click on your student resources button. And then you'll see you have power session 1, 2, 3. It breaks it all out by power session as we move forward, right? So the materials for tomorrow will be power session 2. We'll finish up in power session 1, so bring those back with you. Power session 2, and you always want the manual for the US. If you download the one for Canada, you will be learning things that I can't help you with because I don't know about the laws in the Great Far North. And so it's just a PDF. So when you click on it, you can either print it or just work it through on your screen if that's what you so choose. Make sense? Nice and simple. So MyKW, education at the top, which brings you to KW Connect. Click on Ignite, and then click on student resources, and you have all of that stuff available to you. I'll also show you tomorrow where you can find a scripts catalog. as we talk through scripts. So if I don't do that, somebody remind me, if you would, to show you where the scripts catalog is, because a lot of people like to kind of download that and make a little loose leaf out of it so they have it as a reference point. All right, guys, it is 6:01. I promised you 6, so thanks for the extra minute. As always, it's my pleasure to spend time with you. I will see you tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel. Have a great night. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great night.
You too.